This is just AMZN for Friday, March 26th, 2021. Taking a look at the 5 minute here. We did actually get a continuation of a triangle. I had drawn kind of a symmetric triangle on Thursday, and we definitely just continued lower, making lower highs. And then we actually ended up making lower lows. And instead of a triangle, this actually, it kind of looks like one on top, but on the bottom, because we're making also lower lows, um, it's actually a wedge. It's a very shallow wedge. It's not very steep. It's not a sharper pullback. But each of these consolidations, it gets tighter and tighter and tighter, aiming for an apex, which is way over here. But once this gets so close, I mean, it just breaks one way or the other. And pretty much I mean, we went sideways through here for about 4 hours. All the while, the put was losing value through here. The call was losing value through here. Both the put and the call are getting smaller and smaller until ultimately it just broke down. And when it broke down, so you can see here on the put, the put really held this purple line really well. So this is purple being the put support or the bearish sentiment of we're running into the bears there. And it kind of, on the call here, the 30-50 call, it kind of broke it up between Thursday and Friday. It just had a better fit to kind of split this a little bit. And you can see how things move with the options. And then kind of the green line was a little bit more support. Didn't quite, capture this low here, which was this low here. But just trying to kind of follow along with where these lines are at for the wedge, what's actually happening on the call and on the put. And so on the highs on the put just look really strange. Like we've got kind of relative highs way up here, and then we have a really steep drop off with the value of the put, and then it gets, it still is dropping, but it's much more shallow in the way that it moves. So anyway, so purple on top for bullish or for the resistance, and then the green on the bottom on the call for the support, and then it's flipped. So you have basically the green being your resistance on the put and the purple being the support on the put. And so ultimately, when we got really tight through here, we were already breaking through this red line, which this red line has been here at 30, 34, 33. We almost came down to that level yesterday. We opened up and basically flashed down there. The low was 30, 35 at open. And for about 3 hours, we were making really, really tight candle on the daily. At this point, we were at about a $26 range on the day. So this candle looked really different, looked bearish, looked like it was a really small consolidation candle, kind of looked a little bit like this one over here. This candle was 26.14. And so it was just a really small candle like this. Had a larger upper wick because of how this had opened and then pushed up. But then we were trading, I think in here, a little bit when I looked at this. It's like, okay, 26 points, that's really small. We haven't had such a small day like that in a while. Could it happen again? Sure, it could. But what this was setting up to do was just, really this consolidation. And then we started to break down a little bit more. And so all of these, we had 1, 2, 3, 4 touches of this red line. I'm going to take the green line out just for a sec here. So you can see the touches of or near touch here of the red line. And it's like, okay, that's, we're kind of pushing it into it a little bit. We've got the purple line coming down. And I had actually drawn in the purple line around here at about, what was that? Oops, didn't mean to move it. I had drawn that off of these highs earlier in the day, about 2 hours into the market. And it lined up really well over here. The 21 was coming up. Not up, but coming sideways into that level really, really closely. And it just acted as really strong resistance over here. And then this one making lower lows all the way through the day. I was anticipating it was going to break at some point, and we were going to go through it. And we kind of went through it here, kind of went through it here. It just depends on how you draw this lower line. I didn't actually draw this one in until after hours. I was going off of the red line much more. I had some red lines in here, just trying to frame this up. And when I finally drew in the green line, it's like, you know what, that fits really well. And then trying to fit it on the puts, it didn't really work too well, but it fit pretty well on the call here. Um, but anyway, once this started to break down, it actually went pretty slow. Like it ran up real quick. So we actually put it a low on the puts below $1. So you could have been doing this with an absolute zero in the afternoon. So getting in for $100 risk, and you're going to have a stop at zero, or essentially no stop, and you're going to set your target at 8 hours. So 1 + 8 is 9. So your target's at 9, and it actually would have worked if you had that set up absolute zero. I like taking absolute zero in the last hour, so it wouldn't have worked in the last hour, but it would have worked really nicely over here. Going along with this pattern, the breakdown, and let's see, over here, we were losing value. We're kind of coming off of these levels a little bit. We were just going so sideways through here that these lines didn't really work anymore. You can see clearly here, we still had enough of a range below that we weren't, just for the lows to be touching, it was going to head into the negative numbers here. Like this is actually drawn, just above zero. But on this one, the zero actually, the zero price actually came in right at the close, which I thought was funny. We actually came back to this purple line right at the close on the put, but flew through it right here. Like there wasn't any holding this back from going up. And actually it wasn't until the last, I think, let's see here. I think it was the last 5 minutes of the day that we actually turned this candle positive for the, well, I was about to say the first time, but no, we technically had it positive a little while earlier and then through here. But after this breakdown, it's like, there's no way we're going to get positive. But sure enough, it bounced right basically off of 3,000 and ran up. That would have been a good place to be getting out of a bearish move anyway. A nice solid round number like 3,000. And then if you're looking at the calls, this was really, really small. Like the 30-50, you would have no idea that it was going to end in the money, which it actually closed in the money for the day. And just 10 minutes or a few minutes earlier, it was all the way down, putting a low of 10 cents. Like you literally could have bought 10 of these for, for a single R, and then it ran up. Now, the risk of doing this is you don't get out at, a certain set price, and then it's in the money, and you have things happen in your broker, which you don't want to do. So you want to always get out, even if you're just scalping out an R or two or something like that. Because it really wasn't until the last minute or so that it flew up here very quickly. And yeah, it's always hard to trade those when it's literally the last minute or so. If it's the last 15 minutes, a little easier, where it's having a 15-minute rally or something, and it started to have a little bit of a rally here. I mean, obviously it already rallied for about 75 minutes or so. But that last little bit to get in the money, there's a little more risk to be holding a trade like that. So you can always look at a different option, 30-40, 30-30, 30-25 would have been right down in here. A bunch of those were getting very low in their value through this stretch. And so, obviously as this is getting below one, below $1. So, it's the same kind of thing here where you could have gotten in absolute zero. You want to get in over here, absolute zero. Well, you could get into this and risk, $100 and get into like two of these at 50 cents a piece. Or just go to an option that's a little bit closer, like the 30-40 or the 30-35, or find one that has a value around one, or see if you can hold out a little bit longer for it to actually reverse. So this is actually double bottom, a retest of the neckline here, and you can wait for some of those, some of this pattern to come in, whatever that reversal pattern would look like. And that's where you really just need to be a little more dynamic with kind of that sort of a setup. waiting for a pattern, looking for a reversal. Obviously, the reversal didn't have to happen, so it's still looking for something that may not be there, or the pattern did not play out. Like this, if you were in this bearish and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to hold through this kind of pullback, and that's what I drew. I drew in a triangle, and I drew a breakdown and a nice S curve and then a rollover. And we didn't get that last rollover. We didn't get the bearish breakdown and S curve rollover. We got a little bit here, but I meant, retest back up into this and then rolling over. I think the way I drew it, we were all the way into Monday with where that would happen. And so that's still possible that we'll actually gap down below this and trade lower. We're definitely trapping some folks. We're getting people stopped out. 4 hours of consolidation. There were definitely bulls going, getting in bullish and trying to buy this up and getting stopped out. And there were definitely bears trying to push this lower. And it just went sideways for so long that maybe they got impatient and got out before this move, or they held through this move and then it came way up here to close. And, if somebody was in a 30-50 put, and it closed at 30.53.14, then then it's out of the money for the 30-50 put, and that would have expired worthless. So this is just a really good day to kind of look at how things move sideways, what's going on in the option value, which I'm looking at every day anyway. But to just see how these are, what option you actually want to be trading, and especially on a Friday, how you want to play something like this, where you can see these moves happening. You can see the consolidation. You can see that, okay, we're not going up. Nothing's going up. We're just consolidating, all through this, that this was losing value. This was losing value. You just wait. You just stay in the sidelines with cash and you wait. And then when a breakdown starts to happen, like right in here, like I saw this candle, I think I was having lunch when this happened, and saw this candle. It's like, oh, there it goes. It's going to break down now. And sure enough, it did. And there was still plenty of time to get in a different option, to get in something that you can have $100 risk, and it's a little bit tighter on the candles. But still, it's like we broke down for 20 minutes, went sideways a little bit. It's like, this is a really nice continuation pattern here. Sure enough, it broke down, another little continuation, stair step into a rest after battle, and then that continued lower right into 3,000. It's like, okay, get out. That's good enough, and unfortunately, it's right at that 8R target. So that 8R target keeps coming back in. As long as you're at an option that you have, you need to have an option that's the really right range of the stop to give you that 8Rs. If you have something that's too big of a risk, you're going to go way past 8Rs, and so, or if you're getting into something that's way cheaper, like one of these, you're not going to make it to 8Rs. It's not going to get there. In this case, it did, so that's good. In this case, you don't want to get into this one and look for an 8R target in the last 10 minutes of the day. You're going to want to be watching that and not just set it and forget it, which you can do earlier, even though earlier was waiting 4 hours to get in, and then finally it has its move over the course of like an hour or 15 minutes. So yeah, just some interesting setups today with just a longer consolidation here, and then we turn this into a really nice looking hammer. It's almost like this inverted hammer and this hammer are kind of bookends on this range. And so right here, we're right back at the lows here. Obviously, we took out the lows today. We didn't get a close below them, but we've been in this same range here for, what is this, most of the month, 2-3 weeks, something like that. So we'll see if we just continue to go sideways. I don't know. I thought we would get a little more direction today. I thought we'd continue down here and have a little more bearishness, but then we had this really nice rally here too. And so this is not the option we're looking at for that rally. So that would have been, I think, the 30.25 call. How low did that get? That got just above $1. So you could have almost done an absolute zero. Let's see the 30-30 would have been a little bit better. Obviously later in the day, you're just getting into something and you're going to get out at a target, and you know that you may not get the exact exit that you want, especially for a stop on something lighter like this. Like this has much lighter volume, the 30-30. So this put it a low below 1. And so you had some opportunities here. It was above 1 over here. So right through here, you could have been buying for $1 right off of 3,000 basically. So that could have worked. If you weren't as quick, then you can go out a little further and see, okay, could you have gotten in later? Yep. So it came back down to under $1 here. Get in for $1, set your target at 8R. So get out at 9. And you would have been watching that very closely in the last 5 minutes here. So let's see if we switch over to 1 minute, what happened. Yeah, so in the last, so 2:55 Central Time, it ran up and hit $9. And you should have been out right there. Or the very next minute, 2:56 p.m. Central, you were out on this candle after getting in, around 2 o'clock, a little bit after 2 o'clock Central. So in the last hour of the day, getting in for $100 risk, buying at 100, stop at 0 or no stop, and having a target up here. Now you did have other opportunities to get in on some pullbacks or to scalp and get back in. So you could have gotten out for 2 or get out for 3 or 4 and then gotten back in at 2 and or even 2 or 3 through here, something like that. And a stop down a little bit below 2. So maybe getting in at maybe 250 and a stop down 150. You're always going to be watching these if you're getting in this late in the day. But I love these trades that you just get in, you can just ride something up. And I'm usually scalping those. I'm usually getting in at a price and just getting out for a couple hours. If it does have this kind of a big move, you just don't want to be holding on into the last minute and possibly have any sort of issue with a broker or internet or something. So you want to have those exit orders in or those stops moved up tight. But remember, if you are in something and you have a stop and it doesn't come back down. So if I had a stop at 8 and the stop doesn't come back down and hit my stop and it's in the money, something's going to happen to your broker. You want to have this, you want to have a couple minutes on your setup for it to fill or for you to adjust, not just doing it in the last minute, especially for broker issues or anything that can come up. And I've had internet go out in the last, at the end of the day, it's like, I'm really glad that the trade was set up and everything was done, that I didn't have to react to something or do it live and didn't have an opportunity to. So those are things to just be planning around when you have trades on towards the end of the day. So, but if you're just looking for something like this where you're just going to couch a bigger move when you have a consolidation, then you're not playing it into the end of the day. So that's fine too. But we're down to the 1 minute. So not everyone spends time down on the 1 minute, but it's an interesting time frame to be on with the way Amazon can move at the end of the day. So anyway, just some different kinds of lines in here that just helps give some perspective of how this was moving around. Obviously, we're below this this blue channel here. We could be retesting back up into this and then rolling over. I don't know. I'm not sure what's going to happen next. I did not expect this much of a rally. We basically rallied over 50 points in the last hour or so of the day. So what was it? The low was at 145 Central. And then, so we rallied over 50 points in 75 minutes. So pretty impressive move like that. So definitely a surprise to some folks. I didn't expect that to happen either. So, but yeah, we're back down here. We'll see if we get back into any of these lines. If any of these lines start to work again, we'll keep an eye on those. But for right now, this channel, not sure what to do with that. I'm going to leave it on here in case we do rally into it and then do something to roll over. It lined up nicely on the top. So we'll see if it does anything here on the bottom range too. So hope this helps. This is just AMZN. Thanks.